Let's do Starry Tales. This has me worried. Just seeing this. That's, I'm also shocked they actually show the blood. That's a lot of blood to be showing in the art. And a lot of the times in these gacha games, they censor the blood. They don't show it. So it's crazy to actually see it there. Of course, they could probably be saying that it's vital fluids. But with all that, I'm gonna assume this is gonna be her struggle when she was on the space station. But we'll see. I don't actually know too much about Selena, other than what we found out in chapter 10. Was it chapter 10 or 9? But let's see. Hernandot. Don't know. I'm actually gonna search that up because I'm curious. Hernandot is an opera in 3 acts. Okay, so it's an opera that I don't actually know about. I've probably heard bits of it. I've heard lots of opera, but don't remember the names. But okay. Because now that she knew her sin, she recognized that it was he who would bestow the final judgment upon her. Oh boy. Let's see how this goes. If the Pantheon still existed today, it probably won't stand any more impressive than this. A giant chandelier, beautiful and extravagant, hangs from the magnificent dome, illuminating the mural of the Last Judgment above, with its refracted lights from multiple angles. No one knows if there are any discrepancies between that and the original. No one cares whether the details match the records, for that matter. All it has to do is to be there, just like the pillars carved with scenes taken from the Divine Comedy, and contribute to the opulence and grandeur of the building. Every inch of the place is indescribably ostentatious, and unfortunately, this is probably the last and dreamiest opera house left in the world. A place like this exists only in Babylonia, the last Eden of the human race. Farewell, my dear comrade. May your future be filled with light and love. And those were the gentle final words of the performer playing the soldier as he collapsed in a pool of blood, giving his comrades his best wishes before slowly shutting his eyes. The maroon curtains drop and the opera entitled The Arcadia Evacuation draws to a close. The lights slowly dim, and for a moment there is silence in the fully packed opera house. But soon a thunderous applause fills the entire auditorium. The well-dressed audience stand, giving a standing ovation to what they've just watched. Then a beam of light breaks through the darkness, illuminating the stage. Right in the center of the dome's Last Judgment mural is a hole from which the light of the artificial sky poured in. A ray of light falls directly on the girl who has been standing in the center of the stage for some time. She is the soul of this opera, the composer of the ode that has taken the world by storm, Selena. She seems to be in a bit of a daze, as if she cannot believe her eyes. Her wandering gaze sweeps across the dome, the mural, the pillars, and finally lands on the audience. She seems to have seen something, but when her eyes reach a corner of the auditorium, her gaze abruptly snaps back. But she quickly gets a hold of herself, giving a perfect curtsy to the audience. She does not give a tedious thank you closing speech, but rather holds that pose for a very long time, until the golden glitter has fallen and the audience starts making their way out. When the last member of the audience leaves, she straightens up, glances around the auditorium, then instantly dashes off in a certain direction. Please, wait! The construct whom she called out slowly turns around looking at her. The construct is not dressed like the rest of the audience with their polished shoes and snowy white embroidered shirts, not to mention tuxedos. Standing right in front of her is completely ordinary construct. He wears the standard construct outfit, completely at odds with the opulence of the opera house. This is one of the guests specially invited for this opera performance. Besides civilians, the opera house occasionally gives out tickets to military soldiers to thank them for their hard work and service. At Selena the librettist's behest, a few tickets for this performance have even been reserved for construct soldiers. What do you want? There's no formality from him whatsoever. In fact, he comes across as pretty rude. It is as if the person standing before him is not the youngest, most talented librettist in Babylonia, but a nameless foot soldier. Was there some aspect of the performance that you were unsatisfied with? I'm assuming he wasn't clapping, and that's what she noticed. Oh, does my opinion warrant the attention of a genius librettist? Do you artists actually plan to gather feedback from every member of the audience until all you receive is praise? That's not what I meant. I just wanted to know why you didn't applaud just now. She quickly realizes that what she has blurted out, anyone listening would think that it is no different from what the construct has said. If anything, it has come across as even more arrogant. So she stops and instead looks fixedly into his eyes. Applaud that fabricated fantasy opera? The construct snorts in derision. What's so funny? I thought this reward from the military was something special, but I didn't expect it to be a ticket to watch such an insulting show in this hellhole. And now the one who made this insulting and humiliating performance is standing here asking me why I'm seething. Is there anything more ironic than this? I mean, it makes sense if you have any kind of story that has battle and stuff in it, and you give it to a soldier. A soldier might be upset by it. I don't understand what you mean. I didn't mean to offend you. The presumptuousness of your opera is offensive enough. What was it about the opera that angered you? Please tell me. Then let me ask you, what was it that you were trying to say with your opera? Did you intend to praise the fearlessness of the hero, praise the greatness of war, or did you want to express your condescending sympathy and so-called compassion for those who gave their lives? Condescending sympathy and compassion? No. Don't even try to deny it. The true intentions of the creator can always be seen in their work. You should know this better than me, a mere fighter. I wasn't sure, that's why I'm here. I was hoping to get your opinion. I know you had her first-hand experience of the retreat, and I just wanted to get your approval. The soldier lets out another snort. You ask why I wouldn't applaud. Why don't you go back and look at the stage you built? You wanted to create a scene of post-war ruins on that magnificent opera stage, so you carved bullet holes in the plaster and chiseled out cracks. I can see that you spared no effort in setting it all up and making it perfect. Yes, it's perfect. It's so beautiful indeed. You remade a ruined pantheon, but not the ruins of a battlefield. You didn't know that the ruins should have borne scorch marks and be adorned with mottled blood and broken limbs scattered about. Your ruins are respectable and clean, just like your pitiful imagination, that's all. It bears no resemblance to war. Oh boy. You really think that when you're out on the front lines, the world is still as orderly as it is in Babylonia? It would be utterly impossible for that grand funeral service you had in your show to actually happen on the front lines. And a eulogy with accompanying funeral music. We don't even have time to attend to the cries of the living. So how on earth would we have the time to comfort the dead? If it were just these superficial things, I wouldn't be losing my temper like this. And it's the soldier in the middle of war, so of course, any reminder of war, he's going to be triggered of it. Suddenly raises his voice as if to question. What were you trying to convey with the final scene? Selena takes a step back. While she did write every line of the opera herself, and the show has just ended, for some reason she struggles to recall what happened in that scene. It has all been a blur to her. She only vaguely remembers that she had the dying soldiers on Earth wishing the soldiers who left Earth well. A death without regrets, a sacrifice without bitterness, and with a prayer for the future. It was the most dignified and perfect curtain call she could think of. I'd say that sounds like a good curtain call. I'm sure for some soldiers it'll piss them off, especially if they are a survivor. If this guy lost his friends and he thinks of that. Farewell, my dear comrade. May your future be filled with light and light. The soldier imitated every word in the sing-song lull of the opera singer, mimicking even the cadence as if to mock her. This is the most ridiculous opera I've seen. There's always going to be people like this. Always. And unfortunately for people who make music or art, performances, it's gonna hurt them when they run into people like this. But you kinda have to learn to just distance yourself from people like this when people judge you. Those who were forcibly abandoned and had no choice but to accept their deaths, wishing a group of cowards fleeing their homeland well. What the hell is this joke? Is there anything more insulting than this? I guarantee you there's definitely people who actually were that way though. Maybe not you. Maybe not you, Mr. Angie Man, but there's definitely people who are willing to make a sacrifice. Only those like you who were born in Babylonia and have lived such pampered lives would be able to come up with such a ridiculous comedy. Listen up, what you're putting on is nothing but a comedy that shouldn't even have been performed at all. Your entire story is nothing but a fantasy. And that's the whole point of a show, my dear friend. Unlike you, I've lived through that era. I had to forsake my flesh, my humanity, and my dignity for a future to be allowed into Eden. I became a construct, but whenever I close my eyes, all that appears in my mind is the wailing cries of those who died. My family died on Earth, and I wasn't able to hold their hands as they died, but in their last moments, all they held in their eyes was only hatred, not your so-called blessing. And some people are going to do that. Those who were abandoned had only hatred, and those who fled had only remorse. This Eden arose from enmity and countless corpses. People would die just like animals in that meaningless. And yet the Eden exists, so was it really meaningless? Without faith, without glory, most definitely without forgiveness and blessing. There's just hatred and anger that knows no bounds. And why did we have to face all that? Why did it have to be us who were there? Why did we get to a point when we were forced to destroy everything? Only when life becomes nothing more than statistics will you understand the horrors of war. When humans can no longer continue being humans, only then will you understand the helplessness war brings. We abandon the people we were supposed to protect, then turn around and seek a respite from our suffering through shows like this, all to satisfy our need for pseudo-empathy and egoism. You, a person who's never seen hell, who's never been on the brink of death, sing praises of war and peace in a place like this, and you dare ask me why I didn't applaud. I've never seen a eulogizing opera more arrogant than yours. Forgive me for taking my leave, for it's taken every ounce of my willpower to speak to you with such dignity and courtesy, and I have none left. Without a second thought, the soldier turns and departs, leaving Selena standing alone in an empty square. And there she stands for the longest time, her countenance never showing the slightest hint of being offended. Despite the insults, she keeps her head tilted upwards, her eyes closed, finally lets out a deep sigh. So this must have happened around the time of, wasn't it Ayla's interlude? I think it was Ayla's interlude when she found out that Selena wanted to become a construct. Uh, Selena is not sure how she managed to get home. Her parents are preparing to celebrate the success of their daughter's first opera. Her family is celebrating joyously, while she, having locked herself in her room, has never felt more alone. Oh, and wait, if she's choosing to become a construct, generally that means she's like less than 20. Because as far as we know, the process to make a construct is riskier the older someone is. So it makes sense this would have affected her so much. She's not used to this kind of criticism. In the stillness of her room, her heartbeat is the only thing she can hear. The soldier's words are a constant replay in her mind, and a weight upon her heart. She feels as if her heart is about to leap out of her chest. She wants to pour her heart out to someone, and she knows that no matter how battered and messed up she felt, her best friend Ayla will willingly lend a listening ear. But she also knows without a doubt that this is her pain to bear. She is the only one who can deal with it. Arrogant, arrogant. She repeats the word to herself over and over, turning it over in her mouth as if attempting to chew it into bits and swallow it. Selena closes her eyes. Why did she space out for so long then, even to the point of forgetting to close with a thank you speech? Now she remembers. It was not because she was nervous, but because she was ashamed. The accusatory light pours through the dome above, showering the guilt with its brilliance, leaving them nowhere to hide. She knew she was guilty the moment she saw the Last Judgment mural on the dome. That arrogance was rooted in every fiber of her being. Sucks. Because I guarantee you she wasn't actually thinking that way before this. But just having such a big negative thing right after a huge performance probably just twisted how she felt about it. She's gonna remember it differently. She finally knows why she could not recall her state of mind when writing those librettos. Because there was none. There was no state of mind to speak of, nor was there any deep contemplation whatsoever. It was her first time coming up with her own libretto, without referencing existing librettos. It was her decision to select an unfamiliar era as the subject, which she then used as a canvas to arrogantly depict her fantasy of humanity's glory. Even in the early stages of her writing, she already had the faint sense that something was wrong. That was why she stood anxiously on stage when receiving the applause, because she was not deserving of it. When her gaze fell upon the motionless, imposing construct soldier who continued sitting, coldly surveying the people applauding around him, that anxiety finally grew into an uncontrollable wave of shame that ran down her spine. She was so ashamed that she did not dare look up for a long time. She has always loved opera and music from a young age. In the beginning, she had to use robots to perform the operas she wrote, directed in small exhibitions. She never imagined then that her operas could one day be performed on a real stage by real performers. Dreams coming true should have been a joyous occasion, but as she stands on the stage, receiving the praise heaped on her, all there is in her heart is but an endless, empty void. Why were they crying? Why were they cheering? What was it about this hollow opera that moved them? She could not understand it all, for she did not put anything into it. What else was she thinking of? Oh yes, that it was truly unimaginable. It was unimaginable that, beyond those walls, was the most advanced floating city the world had ever seen, but within those walls was an extravagant and excessively old-world opera house. It fulfilled the fantasies humanity of this era had of classical elegance. It was as if they could gain a small peek in the magnificence of history, soak up what is left of that era just by being in the opera house. Yeah, it's a good song. There's always a polarity to extremities. The more humanity and technology advance, the more people look to the old world for symbols of nobility. That which is scarce is always more precious. This law always holds true. It is precisely because resources are scarce that the beauty created from accumulation of such limited resources can be so resplendent, so dazzling. She used to yearn with all her heart to be there. Everything beautiful gave her indescribable heart palpitations then. When her eyes landed on the columns, the Divine Comedy sculpture relief, she finally understood where the heart palpitations were coming from. She heard the low growl of beasts masked by the sound of loud cheering. It was a wolf, a lion, a cheetah. They were the beasts within. It was from that moment she vaguely started to see the truth behind the glitz and glamour. The final curtsy was not one of gratitude, but rather one of prayer. No, it was not a prayer, or to be more precise, it was not just a prayer. It had nothing to do with religious etiquette, rather, it was simply the final farewell by the most devout believer to the beliefs she held dearest. And in the next moment she dashed out of the opera house after that soldier, because now that she knew her sin, she recognized that it was he who would bestow the final judgment. Yeah, this is the interlude. The terminal on her wrist suddenly gives off a fluorescent glow, cutting her thoughts off. It is confidential mail of a test she did before writing that libretto. To think that they have chosen this time to respond. She got her tantalum compatibility tested, didn't she? Selena skims through the meaningless small talk and calmly fixes her gaze on the conclusion. You have good level of affinity to tantalum 193. Your construct surgery success rate is judged to be high. Yup, she had a test for tantalum affinity. Oh boy. Okay. Welcome to the stream, CJ, by the way. Sorry, I try not to interrupt the actual parts as much as I can. They're getting a lot better at writing these as they go on, though. And knowing the lore is really helpful. It's nice to see. Though there wasn't too much lore in that one. That one's more just knowing psychology. See how this goes. It has been a while since she has become a construct, but her days have not been quite as chaotic and dramatic as she imagined. Most of the World Government Association of Arts Constructs belong to the archaeological team and have been nicknamed donkeys by the military's official task force. This is because they are just like 16th century archaeologists who were embedded into the expeditionary armies, receiving the highest level of protection, just like a donkey positioned in the center of an infantry formation. The responsibility of the archaeological team is, as their name suggests, archaeology. In essence, they investigate humanity's ancient relics, retrieve them, and then repair them. Selena's never had the opportunity to be in a frontal assault. The two operations she was on were simply to conduct simple investigations on an abandoned satellite nearby. She seldom even gets to fight the corrupted. As such, she's understandably shocked when she gets her mission to investigate the space station. Oh no. The space station's trajectory will bring it back into our orbit. The task force would like the archaeological team to take part in this mission and attempt to recycle as much space station data as possible during the battle. Selena, you'll go as well. Me? Are you sure? Are you not willing? Of course I am. I'm just a bit surprised. I thought I wasn't experienced enough to take part in such a large-scale operation. No, you're experienced enough. Your missions have all been perfectly carried out so far. You members of the WGAA's archaeological team can match your level of meticulousness and responsibility. Besides, I know you've always wanted to be on the front lines of the task force constructs. This battle may be a good opportunity for growth, and I'm hoping it'll give you more experience. I'm kind of sad we don't get this version of Selena. Unless this is what we're gonna get in the future. I don't remember what the second Selena looks like. Like, it's simple, but it's cute. I like this look. Thank you for your generosity, sir. You're welcome. Oh, Selena, I'm curious about something. This may be a bit personal and offensive. Please go ahead. I have nothing to hide. I've seen your resume, or rather, I should say you caught my attention a long time ago. Your opera once took Babylonia by storm, and the WGA thought highly of your career. There was no doubt you had real talent, skills. Okay, Windear, thanks for hanging out. You come from a wealthy family, and your future was incredibly bright. There's nothing compelling you to become a construct. So why did you become a construct and join the archaeological team? Don't get me wrong, members of the archaeological team can continue to engage in their previous pursuits. It's just that there are archaeological tasks to be performed regularly, and so the amount of time you can spend on operas is much less than before. I doubt you've given up the opera. You're not the fickle sort. So what was it that made you choose to pick up a weapon? Did she say it? This should have been a completely simple archaeological operation. How did it end up like this? We're jumping to the chapter, the main story. While exploring the space station deeper, an archaeological team member accidentally unlocked the outer electromagnetic lock. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Task Force Captain has adjusted the battle objective immediately with the decision to probe further into the space station. After all, any information the space station may provide could become a key turning point in the war against the punishing virus. They should have turned back on seeing the cross-shaped enemies. Unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20. They stumbled into the deepest area and learned the truth behind the space station. In the center of the gigantic circular space station is a geometric core giving off a faint blue light instead of the gravitational core. It's been going through a repetitive cycle of splitting and converging. What's that? Is it a corrupted? Archaeological team, check the database. I've already compared it to existing data and there are no matches found. Similar to the previously encountered cross-shaped terminals, they are a new type of enemy that Babylonia has never encountered before. Morning, Nico. The blue geometric core makes a humming sound, as if it had just woken up. It slowly begins to convert its outer shell, like a beast that has become aware that there were trespassers in its territory. Watch out, it looks like it's about to attack. Let's grab my controller. Oh boy. Jeez, this is part 2. What are we doing for the other 4? Oh boy, we're fighting this right away? It's coming. Whoa. I'm assuming you're not supposed to be able to kill this. Oh, ow. Hey, I actually dodged it. Yeah. I missed that dodge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was supposed to die. Oh god, that better not be how you unlock the hidden mission. You better not have to actually beat that fight. Or maybe, like, get it past a certain point. And yeah, that happens. There's no way our weapons can penetrate its armor. It's so dense. What is that thing made of? Even if we can't penetrate its armor, we should at least break off a piece of that shell. We have to bring a sample back to Babylonia. The task force construct suddenly gives a huge roar and dashes towards the deadly being with his weapon held high. It came as no surprise when a dazzling light burst forth from the geometric core, instantly engulfing the construct. Idiot. Did that. However, his final attack also lands heavily on the geometric core's thick shell. The soldier's all-out stone-shattering attack managed to break off a corner of the geometric core. Okay, good job, dude. The clear blue shard silently lands on the circular platform. Damn it all to hell. A purple shadow flashes past him. Selena picks up the shard just before the next attack hit. She jumps up and flips to higher ground, dodging the deadly laser. I got it! Good work. Retreat! How many casualties do we have? It's not looking good. Everyone's been injured. There are 5 members who have... That's enough. I get it. Task Force members, listen up. Your priority is to protect the archaeology team members as they retreat. Hold on. My radar is detecting activity signals from a huge number of enemies. And I'm detecting it too. They're about... Selena calmly helps him finish the terrifying number. Over 300, but the signals are all clustered together, so it's not necessarily accurate. Damn it. Were we stirring up a hornet's nest? Do they want the shard back? Even an elephant would be bitten to death by these bugs. The original plan still stands. We need to update the details. Team 1 will fan out and clear a path. Team 2 will fan out and cover the rear. Team 3 will be in the middle, protecting those with serious injuries. Archaeology team members, follow Team 3. We can fight too. Selena's right, we can fight too. Task Force Captain looks at Selena. Selena, was it? I remember your name. Now I know you can fight, but your priority is to bring the intelligence sample gathered to Babylonia and tell the Science Council what happened here at the space station. We are the task force. We have a duty to protect members of non-combat team as they retreat. I'm pretty sure this part of the story was called a grand comedy, and it's kind of ironic that she joined the military because people laughed at her opera depicting soldiers sacrificing themselves for others, and the soldier told her, oh, no one does that. And here she is on the front line and people are sacrificing themselves for her, exactly as her story kinda did. Of course, she has to live through the horror of it, but instead of being disproven, she's basically being proven, and she has to live with it. Orders given, he looked at everyone present. Do you understand your mission? Yes, sir. What happened next is even more cruel than the depiction of hell in the Divine Comedy. If they were all guilty, such a tribulation would be reasonable. But they are all doing this for the survival of the human race. That is why they disregard their own safety and are determined to give it all they have got. The path they've cleared is a hard-earned, bloody one, made possible through the sacrifice of countless lives. Wave after wave of enemies fall upon them. At first, they could be slayed one by one, but as their numbers increase, the constructs could no longer work together to hold the formation. They resort to using their bodies to form a wall, resisting the never-ending waves of enemy attacks. Apollonia, this is Selena reporting. We've encountered an unknown form of punishing virus entity in the space station. We're retreating with a sample shard, but more enemies are headed our way. Requesting backup, over. No response. Babylonia, this is Selena reporting. We've encountered an unknown form of punishing virus entity in the space station. We're retreating with a sample shard, but more enemies are headed our way. Requesting backup, over. No response. This is Selena reporting. Her words are interrupted by vital fluid splashing on her face. No. She almost stops, but a tremendous force shoves her forward. Don't just stand there. Don't let your companion's sacrifice be in vain. Keep going. There are only 12 more compartments. We can break through the encirclement. Eden is with us. Her legs are quaking uncontrollably, and she is numb with fear, but she tries her hardest to stay calm and call for help. Babylonia, this is Selena reporting. Reporting a casualty rate of 27%. We have 8 compartments left before the exit. Please arrange for pickup, over. Oh, this room. The team that has been clearing the path has been completely obliterated, or there would not be so many broken limbs on the ground. Apollonia, this is Selena reporting. Reporting a casualty rate of 35%. We have 6 compartments left before the exit. Please arrange for pickup, over. Oh, and she's slowly getting more and more battered up. The team in charge of covering the rear has also gone silent. None of the team members has caught up with them. Apollonia, this is Selena reporting. Reporting a casualty rate of 63%. We have 4 compartments left before the exit. Please arrange for pickup, over. Even the third team is down to just a few task force members. Selena forced herself not to think about whether she is stepping on an enemy's body or a team member's body. She has no time to think about these things, until the archaeological team is forced to draw their weapons and charge into battle as well. Until the task force captain falls before her eyes. Selena. The task force captain, who has been in front of her all this while, took a mortal blow that was meant for her. While he did manage to stab the enemy's electronic brain with his backhand at the last minute, it was too late for him. A large part of his head was sliced off, and his visual reception system was completely destroyed. Please save your strength. Vital fluid seeps out from the holes in his body with each vibration of his speech module. How many deadly attacks has he endured? I need to say this. I'm sorry we couldn't get you out, but Selena, the shard you're carrying may be a critical key, and you must get it back to Babylonia, no matter what the cost. Yes, I promise you, I'll see to that. I've said what I have to. Keep going, don't stop. Hurry. Sacrifice of more and more lives weigh down upon her, and every step forward feels increasingly heavy. Babylonia. Babylonia, this is Selena reporting. Reporting a casualty rate of 83%. We have 3 compartments left before the exit. Please arrange for pickup. The last archaeological team member falls before her. Apollonia, this is Selena reporting. Reporting a casualty rate of 94%. I have 2 compartments left before the exit. Please arrange for... No response. Babylonia. Keep going, Selena. Almost there. Just a little further. Don't collapse. Assuming this is a blank screen I'm supposed to click for. Apollonia, this is Selena. Reporting a casualty rate of 99%. I have 1 compartment left before the exit. She strikes with her weapon, knocking back a cross-shaped enemy. Covered with injury, she finally stands before the last door. Please arrange for pickup. I beg you. Please, I beg you. Her comms, which has lost contact all this while, finally connects. Before she could speak, the final decision was handed down. This is Babylonia Interim Relay Satellite. The following message was left by Babylonia 15 minutes ago. The battle was estimated to have been completed 30 minutes ago. Unfortunately, as Babylonia has been unable to contact your unit, our calculations show the likelihood of your unit's survival is close to 0. Babylonia's anti-air resources have been stretched thin, and we are unable to continue this battle of attrition with the space station. Due to strategic resource allocation considerations, we'll be unable to allocate backup for troops with no likelihood of survival. Babylonia adjusted its orbital altitude 15 minutes ago to avoid contact with the space station. If any survivors receive this message, know this: Eden thanks you for your efforts. You have been brave warriors, and humanity will always remember your glory. End of message. For a moment, it is completely silent. Then... wailing. Selena's legs give out. She sinks to her knees, letting out her first ever cry of anguish. Ouch. And that's good. I hope it works with Bianca, because I love memeing with Bianca with Vilvi. The gun build is just fun. But let's continue. Lost. It's the greatest honor I've ever received. But geez, this went by so fast. Is this... If we're already at the point where she's stuck on the satellite after 2, this has to go into her time with the Ascendants, right? Is her interlude gonna lead to her becoming whatever it is she is? It says transcendent. Maybe she becomes an Ascendant. I don't know. But we'll see. Selena does not know how long she's knelt there for. For a moment she forgets she isn't a human anymore, but a construct. Why does she feel sick to her stomach? Why are there tears streaming from her eyes? Why have they been abandoned? This must be her punishment. My family died on Earth. I wasn't able to hold their hands as they died, but in their last moments all they held in their eyes was only hatred, not your so-called blessing. Those who were abandoned had only hatred, those who fled had only remorse. This Eden arose from enmity and countless corpses. People would die just like animals in that war, remembering the guy that yelled at her. Without faith, without glory, and most definitely without forgiveness and blessing. It's just hatred and anger that knows no bounds. Why did we have to face all that? Why did it have to be us who were there? Why did we get to a point when we were forced to destroy everything? The soldier was right. The only thing she feels at this moment is rage and hatred. Why have they been abandoned? They've been fighting for humanity all this while, so why have they been abandoned? She now knows what a hideous thing rage is. Only when life becomes nothing more than statistics will you understand the horrors of war. When humans can no longer continue being humans, only then will you understand the helplessness war brings. She understands. She finally understands it all now. Only at this moment, when she is on the receiving end of it all, does she understand the anguish that laid beneath the soldier's accusatory words. The words of Alan, the WGA leader, rings in her ears. Your opera once took Babylonia by storm, and the WGA thought highly of your career. There was no doubt that you had real talent, skills. You come from a wealthy background, and your career is supposed to be as bright as a diamond. There's no compelling reason for you to be a construct. So why did you become a construct and join the archaeological team? She did not know how to respond to Alan then, but the answer is as clear as day now. It is because of her arrogance. That arrogance is rooted in every fiber of her being. She had depicted a hell that did not exist, eulogized false ideals of war and peace, and extolled her perceived ideas of humanity's glory. What shameless arrogance that was! She had an epiphany during the soldier's rebuke, and was determined to redeem herself for her arrogance. It made her determined to become a construct, because as a construct she would one day have the chance to step out into a real battlefield, to truly experience hell for herself, and with that she would personally compose a reality that no one can find fault with. It was not until she was truly in hell that she realized how arrogant her so-called notion of redemption was. To think she became a construct for such a foolish reason. To think she entered the battlefield for such stupidity. It was wrong of her, she knew that now. She should not have left her comfortable and cozy home for such naive and frivolous reasons, or her half-baked epiphany. What significance did the art that she dearly loved have? What significance did those operas and music hold that she had fought so hard for them till this point? What this place needs are weapons that can eliminate enemies and zealousness that can end wars. The ludicrous beliefs about art are nothing but self-reassurance, different from self-paralysis. She can now see the error of her ways. Please, somebody, save me. Please, anybody, take me away from here. Such weak thoughts flooded her mind. She has to get out of here. She has to get out of here. She has to get out of here. There's nowhere to run. Another rustling sound came from the other end of the corridor. She instinctively stands up, alert to the crisis at hand. She holds onto the door for support and looks behind her. The maroon light pulses in the darkness. The enemy gather and pack the corridor tightly, their eyes on the geometric core shard in her arms. Perhaps death in battle here will be a form of deliverance after all. The thought flashed to her mind, but is suppressed by another. The guy telling her to get it to them no matter what. I'm sorry you couldn't get you out, but Selena, the shard you're carrying may be a critical key, and you must get it back to Babylonia, no matter the cost. Of course. Thank you for the posture check. And what of it? Babylonia has abandoned them. There's nowhere to go back to anymore. You must get back to Babylonia, no matter what the cost. You must get back to Babylonia, no matter what the cost. I must get it back to Babylonia, no matter what the cost. She's repeating what she hears in her mind, partly trying to convince herself. I must get it back to Babylonia, no matter what the cost. An enemy pounces on her, and at that very moment, with one hand, she slams her weapon to the floor hard. The other opens the airlock. The vacuum of space instantly sucks everything in the entire corridor out. Selena holds onto her weapon handle for dear life to avoid being sucked out into space with the enemies. She's stuck in the exit, and a large number of mechanoids slam into her before being swept away. She can only grit her teeth in pain. Selena looks in the direction they've been sucked in, and sure enough, there's nothing outside. There's no spaceship to meet them, only stars that seem permanently sewn into the backdrop of the cosmos. They are so far away, and so they are everlasting. Selena turns away, and once all enemies in the corridor have been sucked out, she closes the airlock with great difficulty. I must find a way to check if there are any survivors. She drags her weary, injured body back the way she came. Selena did not expect that he would still be alive. To think he can still be alive in this state. His limbs are all gone except for his left hand. Half his head and components within it are missing as well. It's surprising that the broken speech module is still able to operate at minimum level. When the archaeological team left, he was not damaged to this extent. A fierce battle must have occurred here after that. Teams' sound reception module is still functioning. Even under such circumstances, it is able to pick up her footsteps. Selena walks up to his side and gently kneels beside him. With her hand, she gently holds his broken palm. Is it? It's me. She chokes back a sob, answering him gently and confidently. No, it's you, from the archaeological team. Selena, was it? His voice sounds like it comes from a rusted windpipe, intermittent, and with a quality similar to a steel wire scratching against an iron plate. Why did you come back? Did backup come? No, they didn't. Babylonia's abandoned us. We've been betrayed. For a second, she cannot control tears flooding her eyes, and so she tilts her head upwards so that they would not fall. It is strange indeed. Why is it that even though they have already given up their human bodies, they still have to keep their minds stable by simulating exclusively human physiological symptoms? Why is it that even though they've become constructs, they are still unable to leave their human weakness behind? Yes, backup has arrived. Don't worry, everyone's being saved. That's really great. But why don't I hear any footsteps? Lying begets more lying. Perhaps your sound reception module has been damaged and is not picking up the more distant sounds. But don't worry, the medics will come and take you away soon. We're constructs. We just have to switch to a new body and we'll be fine. Information and sample have been delivered. She repeats herself to make her words more convincing. Don't worry, they've been delivered. If he cannot be saved, at least let him pass on without regrets. Okay. His hand suddenly starts quivering. That is when Selena realized that he has seen through her lies. But they have both chosen to remain silent. Thank you. I've done nothing to deserve your thanks. Rather, it is I who should be thanking you for saving me. The construct shakes his head with great difficulty. When your team called you Selena, I remembered why I seem to have seen you before. Is this the guy that yelled at her? It was at Babylonia's opera house, wasn't it? I remember you were holding an opera performance there. There was a scene. Your aria was accompanying music, sung a cappella style. That's why your voice was so familiar. I thought it was strange. You were human then. Why did you suddenly become a construct? I didn't recognize you immediately. Lena is caught off guard that the stranger knows about her past and freezes, as if ashamed. She replies, "Those are just some things not worth mentioning." There's nothing not worth mentioning. I remember it clearly. That was the requiem for the dying protagonist. His words brought her back to the time in her past, time she has buried deep in her heart. Do you really think that when you're out on the front lines, the world is still as orderly as it is in Babylonia? It would be utterly impossible for that grand funeral service you had in your show to actually happen on the front lines. Oh, is he gonna ask her to sing for him? Oh. And a eulogy with accompanying funeral music. We don't even have time to attend to the cries of the living, so how on earth could we have time to comfort the dead? There are too many who died, just like the stars in the night sky. No one remembers their names, nor the place where they fell. It was utter nonsense and hopeless naivety to dedicate a requiem to the death of a single soldier. That was what that soldier had told her then. She was so ashamed of her ignorance then, that the accusation haunted her even in her dreams. Why was she composing songs? Why was she writing librettos? Why was she singing, and now, why is she fighting? She did not know. Well, even now, as you lie on the brink of death, you've chosen to condemn her naivety. It was just like her encounter with the soldier all over again. She purses her lips, closes her eyes, and waits to be judged. But judgment does not come. Before that, I always thought when humans died, there was nothing left. When a construct is broken, they're just scrap metal. No one remembers. Oh. I've been doing them. Thank you for the posture check. This is the type of person she needed to hear. Unfortunately, the negative criticism is always the stuff that comes first. You don't hear the positive remarks. I thought no one would care, but you sang for him. Selena is taken aback. That was the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard in my life. She suddenly feels the urge to stop him from going on. It was nothing but a lame method of expression. An important character in the opera had died, so naturally it necessitated an aria to give voice to the emotions. It was just an awkward, presumptuous eulogy. Please don't go on. It was just her childish fantasy, nothing more than wishful thinking on her part. That is what she is about to say before he interrupts her. Someone who escapes war is only going to think of the horrors of it. People who die in the war are going to hope for the best, that they made a difference. Just naivety, but it was truly beautiful. If everything was really like that, how nice would that be? I'm sorry, we didn't fight hard enough. That's why someone like you has to come to a place like this and encounter such situation. But could you sing for me that song you sang then? I knew it! Oh. Oh. He needed this, right? Like, she needed this, but it's a little late. In my honor. The tears that have been welling up in her eyes finally fall as she gently kisses the back of the other construct's broken hand. She has been plagued by self-doubt for a long time, never finding the answers she has been looking for. To think that at a time and in a place like this, from another in the same position as her, she has found redemption flooding in. It's the greatest honor I have ever received, sir. There are some differences between a construct's voice module and a human throat, so she fumbles a little at first. But she quickly gets the hang of it. Producing the most beautiful sounds possible is an instinct she was born with. She croons for a long time, a very, very long time, till the tears on her face have dried. I knew it was coming. As soon as he started singing praises, it's like he's gonna ask her to sing for him. Of course he's gonna ask her to sing. Oh. I mean, yeah, it's an emotional story. That's interludes in these. It's sad time. Only halfway. We still have half of it to go. Assuming one of them is going to be like her fighting to get to a safe room. We know that she was broadcasting a signal. There's no way that's 3. Is there going to be something else? Something extra? And then we still have to figure out what in the world is the hidden unlock. Boy. Till the construct she is holding it in her arms is no longer emitting activity signals, Selena lays him down gently, then leaves the room of dead bodies without looking back. She has to survive. No matter what happened, she has to survive. Even if Babylonia has raised its orbital altitude to avoid contact with the space station, there will still be a period of a longitudinal intersection when a comms connection is possible. If she can find the space station's communications room and input her own signal into the disruptive white noise constantly being emitted by the space station, someone is bound to notice her distress signal one day and come to her rescue. There are still people waiting for her back home, her parents, her best friend. She still has a lot of unfinished business. There's no way she can wither and die alone in a place like this. She cannot lose hope. She has to turn in this intelligence report. From the moment her comrades sacrificed their lives to pave her way forward, her life is no longer hers alone. She is now a vessel containing the legacy of everyone in the advance force. She walks to the outer part of the space station. Soon, the advance force passed through this area while exploring deeper into the station, and she vaguely recalls the communications room is somewhere nearby. Before her stand the locked automatic door. This must be one of the important doors of the space station. A very high level of authority is needed to access it. Selena makes several attempts to crack the code on the lock, an action she's done many times before, but finds that she does not possess sufficient computing power after several attempts. After confirming she is strong enough to destroy it, Selena swings her weapon at it. An iron gate slams down with a loud bang, and instantly a broadcast is made throughout the entire space station. Korolev would like to issue a gentle reminder to children visiting the space station. Please follow the rules and regulations and listen to your guide. What is Korolev? Please take care of public facilities. Lena is shocked by what she is hearing. Children who vandalize and destroy space station facilities will be punished. Serious offenders will be separated from their parents for 1 week and placed in a correctional facility. From behind her came the sudden sound of mechanical limbs hitting the ground, the broadcast echoing in the space station. It's an actual source after all. Selena turns to the source of the sound. Dear children, we are now demonstrating how the immune system of the human body works. Oh boy. Viruses that enter, a giant spherical corrupted appears behind Selena. With just a glance, Selena's already ascertained the huge difference in power between her and the enemy. This is a corrupted she cannot hope to defeat alone. Every circuit in Selena's body screams at her to flee, and flee she does. This is what will happen to it, captured and destroyed by immune cells. Here comes the gameplay. So are we actually going to have to run? I need to leave this place as soon as possible. Must not let Korolev find me. I must bring the shard pack to Babylonia, just a little longer. I must stay strong until the last moment. Give me 3 pings. Anything else in them? For some reason this thing stands out, but I guess it is just a detail on it. I guess we go check this thing. Is this a terminal to control the electronic lock? Great, my computing power can open it. Well, can't waste time on these things. Is there anything else? I need to make sure I don't miss anything, just in case this one has something to do with unlocking things. Open, she closes it again. Door is closed. Safe at last. Welp. Rumble, rumble. Korolev can open it. Immune cell is found, a germ. Don't mind me while I hide behind a wall. Oh, no. Came the other way. Korolev would like to issue a gentle reminder to children visiting the space station. Please follow the rules and regulations and listen to your guide. Children who fail to follow the instructions will be threatened. Treated as invading germs. Next, I shall demonstrate how an immune cell captures and destroys the invading germs. Ow. Screw you, Korolev. Oh, I missed the dodge. I hate Riot so much. Was that a thing where you have to survive for a certain amount of time? Oh my gosh. You guys and your pings. No matter where she hides, the corrupted called Korolev is always hot on her trail and always finds her. She tries fighting, but fails miserably, convincing her that she has no hope of defeating an enemy like this. Eventually, she still somehow coincidentally finds herself in the place she was looking for, communications room. Inside the communications room, the strenuous movements have caused Selena's vital fluid to seep out of every opening, and she can feel that her body, which is already approaching its limit, is about to fall apart. She musters her remaining strength to barricade the entrance with what she can find and staggers over to the communications station. Access granted. Thank goodness. There is, however, no joy in those words. The giant corrupted is frenziedly slamming against the barricade. Is this the end of the road for me? In her hurry, she can only load the data she is subconsciously most familiar with into the space station's disruptive signal. If Ayla gets this, she'll definitely understand it. Selena smiles bitterly. If it is her best friend. Ayla, I'm sorry. A huge force sends the barricade flying as Korolev steps into the narrow compartment. In the time she takes to prepare for battle, Korolev manages to cover the distance between them. Her weapon snaps under the impact of Korolev's attack. There's a loud bang as Korolev hurls Selena against the wall. Korolev does not give her time to catch her breath and slams its robotic arm down onto her back. The robot is not small, but it sure is nimble. When visiting the space station, please follow the rules and regulations and listen to your guide. Children who vandalize and destroy space station facilities will be punished. I finally got you. You are a very disobedient child. Not only have you vandalized facilities, you've also stolen valuable public property. Come on, return what you stole to Korolev. A child who owns up to their mistakes is a good child. What is the goal of this corrupted? She glances down at the geometric core shard in her hands. No, this is the one thing I can never hand over to you. Selena started to struggle again, and with her final desperate burst, she managed to shake the AI robot off her. Taking advantage of the robot's attempt to stabilizing itself on its robotic legs, she dodged to the corner of the room. I must protect the shard. This came at the cost of the entire advanced force's sacrifice. What should I do? Korolev is blocking the entrance, and her weapon has been destroyed. It's a desperate situation with no chances for survival. At the very least, I must. Selena's eyes narrow. In an instant, she turns the pointy end of the shard towards her chest and stabs it straight in. A child that does not own up to their mistakes is a naughty child. Korolev, who had regained its balance, looked at Selena, who had the shard hidden in her chest. It charged towards her, once again crushing her left arm with its own. The item you stole, where did you hide it? Pain signals flooded Selena's mind. Are you the space station's AI? Being a corrupted, it obviously was not able to answer her. To have become what you are, it's truly tragic. Korolev has always been like this. What are you talking about? You're just a puppet of the punishing virus. The corrupted before was supposed to be the guidance AI of the space station. To make it more approachable to children, its words and actions were programmed to be as innocent as those of a child. The robotic arm pinning her down even bears childish graffiti left by children who used to visit. And now it's nothing more than a killing machine. A good child doesn't gossip about others, but Korolev is forgiving, just hand it over. If you don't, Korolev will activate punishing mode. According to the rules and regulations of the space station, Korolev has the right to use minimal levels of violence. Selena observes it calmly. What's the matter? Why aren't you moving? Very well. The following demonstration will serve as warning to children on the repercussions of not following the rules and regulations. The priority is to get the thief to return the stolen object to the owner. Two robotic arms suddenly crush her left hand and rip it off. The pain from having her arm ripped off is so great that Selena could not stop herself from crying out. She cannot think. It looks like the thief didn't hide the item in her left hand. And let's take a look at another body part. Okay, they went a little more brutal with this than I expected them to. It looks like we didn't get the hidden thing, so I'll have to figure that out after. Blog. Selena has a dim recollection of seeing a flower in Babylonia's greenhouse. A real flower. Babylonia rarely wastes precious resources on growing decorative flowers, so the beauty of that purple flower blooming in the greenhouse really stood out. What happened next? Her mind was in such chaos that she was not able to access the next part immediately. Oh right, it was an excursion organized by the Center of Basic Public Education, so of course the purpose of the teacher who took them there was certainly not to have them admire the flowers in bloom. The teacher plucked the flower and deconstructed it in front of them. It started with the stalk, then the base, the sepal, and the corolla. The deconstructed nameless purple flower lay scattered in the petri dish for the children to examine its every part, just like her now. You're being naughty, little thief. Where did you hide the stolen item? Korolev, who had been pulling her apart, suddenly stopped. That maroon visual receptor scans her from top to bottom before abruptly tossing her aside. Oh, little thief, where did you go? It is as if it suddenly cannot see her. It lets out an urgent screeching noise before leaving the communications room. See, this is something I've wondered, because it almost seems like, or sounds like, for some constructs, that their bodies, some of their appearance might be fake. So I wonder, it ripped off so much of her that just she doesn't look like what she did before. I mean, it could just be literally ripped off that much. But she said she stabbed it into her chest, so it just barely missed it probably. It's probably right in her chest cavity. Is it because she has reached such high levels of corruption that it determined she has become a corrupted? She does not know, nor does she need to. She can no longer feel her lower limbs. The only thing left in her mind was ceaseless pain. She did not dare cut off the pain signal for fear of mind deviation. She could already feel the geometric core shard buried in her chest gradually infecting her. All of her computing powers focused on keeping her invert device functioning normally. Yeah, the virus. I mean, she did put the shard in her, and as far as we know, the shard, the thing that the, oh, what was it called? Was it a head? I can't remember what those things were called. But the advanced punishing virus, as far as we know, that was just like super condensed punishing virus. It would explain if she does become a ascendant why it happened. But the crimson is slowly spreading through her mind. When she can see clearly again, Selena finds herself in a most familiar place. She's at the virtual exhibition hall, the place where she first had the dream. When she was still a nobody, this is where she was, in a place nobody cared about, alone with her little robots, attempting to restore pieces of opera collected from the remnants of the Golden Age. The Duke of Milan did not seek revenge for the hardship he encountered. Instead, he forgave every man who had wronged him after they confessed. Years later, all the things that happened were slowly forgotten. The people of Naples continued to live on a beautiful land as always. Naples was still a place of hope, despite the occasional disputes and conflicts. Thank you for watching. This is the end of The Tempest. Well, what's wrong, Ayla? Is there something wrong with it? No, Selena, your operas are as exciting as always. So what exactly is the issue, Ayla? I just don't understand why Duke Prospero was able to forgive Antonio in the end. If it wasn't for Antonio, Prospero and his daughter wouldn't have been exiled to the small island, would he? Why was he able to forgive him just like that? Hold on, was there really such a line? No, there was not. She sent Ayla her restored ending to the Tempest just before she left. She never actually got to hear Ayla's opinion on it. This was but a fantasy of memory and imagination wove together by her mind in its extremely chaotic state. This was her subconscious endlessly contemplating the issue in her head. This was her subconscious incessantly inundating her with self-doubt. Why was Prospero able to forgive his brother so easily? His throne was usurped. He almost died. He lost everything, and the pain he carried from having been cast away to a tiny island with his daughter for so many years. Why was he able to forgive someone who had caused him so much pain so easily? Wasn't this story the inspiration of an event in a game? I think it was a Honkai event, but I can't remember for sure. It might have been PGR. I remember this specific play. Because forgiveness is a virtue, and to forgive others is to forgive yourself. Are you hoping to comfort yourself by coming up with such righteous reason? Those are nothing but empty, pretty words. You think so too, don't you? There's no need to forgive yourself. You shouldn't forgive yourself for foolishness. Don't forgive yourself, and don't forgive Babylonia, which has abandoned you. You have nothing left, not your bright future, not your ideals and art, not even your comrades. You have no tragic past, no fervent belief. Compared to others, you have no reason to persevere. Why do you persist? Give it all up. All you have to do is come over here and everything will be much easier. So the punishing virus trying to convert her. It's interesting though, because that seems to be the secret. Because Luna too, Luna had something to live for which made her stronger against the punishing virus. She is right. Looking holistically at all the steps she has taken, her actions seem so paltry and feeble. Most of what she has done in persistence of her naivety. It was all completely meaningless. She was just an utterly ordinary girl. She could not understand what it was that has caused her to persevere to this point. No, it's not like that. Prospero must have despised Antonio. Now understand Prospero's emotions better than anyone else, Selena. He wanted revenge, but at the end of the day, Antonio was his brother, his comrade. The people of Naples were still waiting for him. Selena's eyes flew open. With only half a body left, she is just like a fish on land, struggling to turn over. Now my charms are all overthrown, and what strength I have is mine own. With only half her left arm left, she uses her fingers to effortfully inch forward. Her broken figure is striving to crawl forward. Which is most faint now, 'tis true. I must be here, confined by you, or sent to Naples, let me not. Her fingers give way. So she opens her mouth and uses her teeth to pull her forward. Since I have my dukedom got, and pardoned for the deceiver dwell, in this bare island by your spell. She finally manages to pull herself to the corner. Selena endeavors to connect herself to the space station terminal. In an instant, she sees every corner of the space station. She sees the areas bloodbaths with the advanced force took place, and where the geometric core is. Her mind sees everything all at once with unparalleled clarity. It is then that she understands the truth of it all. The punishing virus started off by infecting the gravitational control core, wreaking havoc with the gravity in the space station. The powerful suction force swept the punishing virus in the area into the gravitational core. The convergence of such a large quantity of the virus gave rise to the heterocore. That's the word I was looking for. The thing that took over the gravitational core. That information alone is enough to change the course of the war, and she has to deliver it, together with the heterocore shard in her chest, back to Babylonia. The only thing to do now is to wait very patiently. But release me from my bands. With the help of your good hands, gentle breath of yours my sails must fill, or else my project fails. She is not aware of how much time has passed. It may have been a long time, or merely a second. The space station, which has been quiet all this time, is welcoming another group of guests. There's a group calling themselves the Grey Raven, who work so well together. It is like they can read each other's minds, and with them is a familiar pink figure. Selena's mind, which is shattered by what she had experienced, pieced itself together on seeing that girl. Hela. The construct, which has been pushing herself for years, finally closes her eyes. Which was to please, now I want spirits to enforce, art to enchant. My ending is despair, unless I be relieved by prayer, which pierces so that it assaults mercy itself and frees all faults. As you from crimes would pardoned be, let your indulgence set me free. Oh, God. That was such a good one. That might be one of my favorites. That one hurt so bad. They set some of that up so well. And yeah, it's ironic, right? Because a lot of the Ascendants, it seems like they've given up their hope for humanity. Or I guess maybe their idea of humanity has changed, and that's what the punishing virus is taking advantage of. But it seems for them to survive the virus, they need to have a strong willpower. I don't even think it has to be belief in humanity. They need to have the will to live. They need to have the will to beat the virus, to not give up, to not hate. Because it seems like negativity is what the virus exploits. We saw it with Luna, and now we've seen it with Selena. I don't think we've seen the other ones. I don't think we've seen any other Ascendants. Like how they came to be. I'm sure we'll find out Roland, because we know Roland's going to be a playable character. We're not quite sure what... I guess we're not sure what Kamu is. I don't think he's really... I don't think he's an Ascendant. He might be something close? But... I don't know. But... Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there is one more. I thought that was the last one. Oh, damn. There is another one. I actually thought that was done. Wow, that would have been a good ending. That would have been a perfect ending. But no, there's more. Let's see what this is. Huh. So this is going to be after her rescue? How much time has passed? What is the world outside like now? What am I doing? She has lost all her memories. She is even close to forgetting who she is. She seems to have been wandering around for a long time. Unfortunately, your fate is not in your own hands. Target construct successfully captured. Both the corruption rate and functionality are in line with our estimations. Then an immense pain hits her. Her already broken body is being further dismembered. Roland, are you still researching this woman? We've seen both these scenes. She's interesting, don't you think? She's not completely dead, but she's not alive either. Being in this state, I wonder how she views herself. And how does she view the world? That's what I'm interested in. And we know Roland isn't quite enamored by the Ascension Network. He cares more about Luna than he does Ascension. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that his status as an Ascendant has kind of wavered. Anyone who's done Golden Vortex, Roland did kind of lose control of the punishing virus for a while. What is it that keeps you going? You're still fighting to live even though you've been reduced to this. What is the source of your power? Huh. So that's how it is, no wonder. He reading through her memory. I wonder if Gabriel's realized it yet. It'd be better for you to stay here with me. At least you'll be able to continue your beauty sleep, if but for the moment. Red tides ripple against Gabriel's feet, and the hetero creatures now swarm around him. Countless substances dissolve and reform in the tides, becoming part of the hetero creatures. A corrupted wandering around Gabriel is suddenly crushed to pieces by Gabriel's giant hand. The pieces are then unceremoniously discarded into the red tide, attracting the hetero creature. Gabriel picks up the black suitcase next to him with his right hand. It would take forever with only corrupted as I thought. As soon as Gabriel has submerged the suitcase in the tide, the hetero creatures start swarming around the suitcase. The suitcase disappears in the blink of an eye, exposing the wrecked half-body in it. So Selena was thrown into the red tide. Was she repaired by the red tide? Now for the entree. She has lived through years of suffering. Her groans did make wolves howl and penetrate the breasts of ever angry bears. It is a torment to lay upon the damned, which nothing could do again undo. Memories of her past set upon her like vengeful spirits, dragging her down into an endless spiral. Without faith, without glory, and most definitely without forgiveness and blessing. There is just hatred and anger that knows no bounds. Damn, why did we have to face all that? Why did it have to be us who were there? Why did we get to the point where we were forced to destroy everything? I think this is the third time they've quoted that. I'm sorry we couldn't get you out of here. But Selena, the shard you're carrying may be a critical key. You must get it back to Babylonia, no matter the cost. Everyone she had ever met appeared before her, one after another. Eventually, there's a scarlet wave washes over them, and everything freezes. A person looking exactly like her stands on top of the red tide. What are you holding on for? You can't even remember who you are anymore. What you love has been scorned by others. A promise is all that's keeping you going. But then again, it's been so long. Who would still remember that promise? You can hate all who've abandoned you. You can rage at what's happened to you. You have every right. Come, join me in slumber here. Before that, I always thought when humans died there was nothing left. When a construct is broken, they're just scrap metal. No one remembers. I thought no one would care, but you sang for him. That was the most beautiful voice I've ever heard in my entire life. Just naivety. But it was truly beautiful. If everything was really like that, how nice would that be? No, what I love has never been scorned. It was never others who scorned it, but myself. Selena shakes her head, then turns her back on the figure and walks in the opposite direction. Only a deeper hell awaits you down that path. I know. Selena does not look back. She has said there was no reason to keep fighting, but she knows better than anyone of the three beasts lurking in her heart. Dante put them behind him as he advanced into hell and purgatory, while she has brought them along with her to this place. How they cry, scratch, and roar wildly, struggling to break free. For what she believes in, for what she loves. She'll use her claws if she loses her legs. She'll use her fangs if her claws break. It does not matter how undignified, how disgraceful, or how ugly she looks. She has to live on. She will try. And see just how long she can hold on. The purple eyes of the wrecked construct lying in the red tide suddenly fly open. Her body is sinking. It is so painful, so very painful. Her already shattered mind is decimated even further. Selena does not know whether she has become bait or seed crystal. The beings above seem to be deconstructing her, but also reconstructing her at the same time. She struggles to lift her head above the water, like a drowning person, trying to draw her last breath, and then she saw stars, numerous stars in the sky. In that moment, her mind, which has been constantly battered, became unusually calm. Her eyes take in the stars, which are changing into breathtaking star trails. The moon is on the other end, shining brilliantly. So, is she on Earth? It is so beautiful. I wish Ayla could see this. Who is Ayla? Corners of Selena's mouth turn upward. Those contradictory thoughts run through her head, and then she's completely submerged by the red tide. Some are born to sweet delight, some are born to endless night. To those poor souls who dwell in night, God appears, and God is light. To those who dwell in realms of day, what does a human form display? That is... oh, it's so... I love her story now. Oh my god. That is probably one of my favorites. And that is some crazy lore. So she is a transcendent, whatever the difference between that and ascendant is, because clearly she didn't give in to despair. She didn't give in to the punishing virus. She won over the punishing virus. But instead of being completely broken up by the red tide, it's like she won over it and it rebuilt her. So the form that we use of her, the transcendent Selena Tempest, is something created by the red tide. That's so crazy. Let me quickly check the interlude hidden stages thing. But apparently we have to redo the first fight, and every time it says someone falls, we have to go talk to them. And if you talk to all of them, that's when she gets the shard, and that unlocks the story. So we'll see what it is. Okay, so you just gotta get them all, interact with all of them for the heal, and then fight until the bitter end. So it's kinda like you playing through what happened of getting the shard. And hidden chapter. Let's see, now that we got that. A figure stands on the hill, silently gazing at City 075 in the distance. The ruined city is host to a large number of red punishing crystal clusters that erupted from the ground, giving the impression of a giant tombstone. She stares at it for a long time. A melodious hymn carried on the wind reaches her ears, breaking her chain of thought. Wait a second. It is long and mournful, like a wail singing for help. She looks in the direction of the voice, but what she sees is a dead, barren land. She thinks about it for a moment, then starts heading in the direction of the voice. That was very short. But I wonder if that means Gabriel didn't find her. I think 075 is the city from chapter 13. I'll check. But I think it was the one from 13. Does it say anywhere? I don't know that it actually says anywhere. And I don't want to go over any cutscene stuff and spoil stuff for people who haven't seen it. But, yeah. So as far as we know then, Gabriel was trying to use her to fuel the red tide. But she overpowered the red tide, was repaired, and she's now just on a pilgrimage. She's just wandering around trying to find herself. So curious where this is leading. And that sounded like the sound they use and the text they use, that was what they used for the narwhals. So I wonder if she's near the sea and she's gonna find a narwhal, or if it's something similar to that. Yeah, we'll see.